Good YouTube, Quinn Wade coming to y'all with that basketball analysis on analysisplayground.com and on YouTube. We're going to talk about Joel Embiid and the Sixers agreeing to a 3-year, $193 million extension and other news too. And Joel Embiid and the Sixers have made the largest and longest extension for Embiid, and it's allowed him to sign it because he's eligible for it. The deal would bring Joel Embiid contract to 5 years and under $300 million in total, which is a benefit to the Sixers because he is one of the top three players in the league, especially when he's healthy. I will only put Jokic and Giannis in that conversation. You can pick and determine who you feel like is first and who's better, but he is one of the best players in the entire league, and he leads his team to the playoffs mostly every year with a $69.1 million player option in his final season in 2028 and 2029. That's a lot of money, but this is what you do when you have the years and you have the dominancy that Joel Embiid has had. Embiid will decline his player option for the 2026-2027 season. That will allow the All-Star NBA, All-NBA center to add 3 seasons to his deal. So they getting as much as they can, and they feel like they still can build with Joel Embiid. Plus, even if he's under contract, they still make him tradable because if you trade for him, you get more chances to win with him because he basically can't ask for a trade once you trade for him unless he really is unhappy. And you get a little bit of security with him, knowing that if you trade for him, you get 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 years automatic. And I think that that's good too for teams that might be interested in him if the Paul George experiment doesn't work like most people think that it might, which I don't think that that's going to make them a championship team. I just think that that keeps them competitive, and sometimes that's all teams want you to be anyway. Paul George just signed a 4-year, $212 million contract this summer with the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Sixers also re-signed Tyrese Maxey to a 5-year, $204 million contract, with Embiid now extending. All three of the Sixers are under contract through 2027 and 2028 season, and that allows them to get a view of, is this team really going to be good enough to win a title? Let's go all in on these guys. Let's secure these guys, and let's sprinkle in some role players around them to see if this duo slash trio is enough to get an NBA title to Philly again, which we haven't seen since Moses Malone and Julius Erving was on that Sixers team in the 1980s. And it's crazy that it took that long for them to actually have a successful season. They haven't really been great since Allen Iverson helped them get to the NBA Finals in the 2000s against the Los Angeles Lakers. And he was so small and so tiny. It was kind of crazy that he was able to do that. And that's why he's remembered as a legend, because we always say legends are made in the playoffs. And Joel Embiid is trying to build up his legacy by staying loyal to the team that drafted him. They have compensated him. They have put up with him. They have paid him. They have showed confidence in him. And they still think that they can win a championship with Joel Embiid being their best player. And you can't really blame him when you look at his regular season numbers and you look at the fact that they're one game away a couple times from being in the Eastern Conference Finals, one fourth quarter away from being, a potential Eastern Conference Finals team. And I always felt like, was that even enough? Because if you're struggling to get out of the conference finals, struggling to get out of the semifinals, you would you be enough to even get past the conference finals or even be able to beat the team that comes out the Western Conference for the NBA championship? And I think that that's a legitimate conversation, a legitimate argument that the Sixers needed something else. Was it more shooting? Was it more ball creation? Will they have James Harden and Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris as a spot-up shooter for that, or a spot-up scorer for that? That didn't work out. Was it Ben Simmons? People felt like Ben Simmons was the problem. He's one of the best defenders at the time, finishing second in Defensive Player of the Year to Rudy Gobert a couple seasons, and they felt like we got to get rid of this guy. And, they added Jimmy Butler to that team with Tobias, and that wasn't enough because they lost to the Toronto Raptors in a, crazy game 7 that people still remember. And then Joel Embiid didn't even step up too much in that series. He had some collapsing and some falling and some missed free throws and some missed shots when he played with Ben Simmons that really caused them to stumble and crumble under pressure when it's against Atlanta in the semifinals. And then Boston, like he said, they always kick her butt. So they can they beat the Celtics? That's their biggest challenge. Can you beat the Celtics in the second round? Can you beat them in the first round? Can you beat them in the conference finals? That's going to be a consistent problem as the Celtics are younger with their superstars than the Sixers are younger with their superstars, because the only young one is Tyrese Maxey. Paul George and Joel Embiid is getting older and they getting more injury prone. So that window is going to close faster than they're going to think, because these guys get so unhappy so fast, like Paul George did in Oklahoma City. One minute he signed the extension, the next minute he's getting traded to the Clippers and signing extensions with them. And then he wasn't even going to try to come back to the Clippers. That's how he got with the 76ers, because things change so drastically. But you still rather trade these guys under contract so you can get some swings at the apple tree to be able to get as much you know labor that you can get, as much benefits as you can get, even if it's trying to trade them for another haul to be able to rebuild your team if it doesn't work for you. So I think that this is a fair deal for both teams. I think, will Joel Embiid be good 3 years later after this deal might come to a point where it expires? I believe so. He's not that old. He's still got some major injuries that happen to his body, but the fact that they get eliminated so early, he can always get that rest. He can always get that off-season surgery to fix something, to put him back in the best shape, to put him back in the best physical build that he can get in. And I think that he just wins so much games for you against the good, the bad, and the ugly, because he's just so dominant. He's just so good offensively that you always gonna have a chance to do something in the playoffs. You make the playoffs, you just never know what can happen in your favor. But I think the East has gotten stronger. They needed a move like getting Paul George, to make sense. And I feel like, looking at this deal, it makes a lot of sense for them to still believe that, he's not 35, he's not 36, he's not 37, he's still in his prime. Let's see if we can go all in and try to win with him still, just like every other team that has a superstar. So it makes perfect sense. But the Magic did sign Mac McClung, Javante Smart, and Ethan Thomas. They did choose to waive Myron Gardner and Trey Scott. So those guys are no longer on the roster, but they showed that they wanted some more athleticism, some more scoring punch with the guys they chose to pick up. So these deals aren't that crazy. It is signed to their training camp roster to see if these guys going to be worthy of keeping, if they can be difference makers, if they're going to be impact players. The Orlando already have their top 9 players already under contract, already ready to go. These are just guys that they're impressed by or they like enough to give them an opportunity to make the roster. And other than that, some of these guys been around. Some of these guys played in the G League. Some of these guys are, real great players. They just didn't really have the opportunity until now to show that they still NBA worthy players. And even then, they're just going to be bench warmers for the most part. But they still might get, 5 to 10 to 15 minutes some games if they do make the roster. I think that that's the best they're going to get on a team like Orlando, because they're young, they're hungry, and they already have great players starting already. Blake Henson does the same thing with the Warriors. He agreed to a Exhibit 10 deal. I think that would be solid for him. He's a guy that has played in 8 summer league games with the Lakers. Henson ended up averaging 10 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist in 20 minutes. I think that shows you that he can bring a lot to the table and not require too much maintenance, because you can always let him go and you can always extend him if he does overperform for you. And same thing with Amari Bailey. The Nets agreed with him to a Exhibit 10 deal, and he was a guy that played 23 G League games and he averaged 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists in 32 minutes. Obviously, that's not going to be reality in the NBA, but it's still good to get a guy that can do that, that's young and still has potential. And that's really about it. Joel Embiid has took the bulk of the news today, as he is the one of the top 5 players in the league, and it's interesting to see, can Daryl Morey put this team together enough to get this team to where it never has been, which is further and deeper in the playoffs. I like the roster. I like what they did with the roster. I like the fit with Paul George and Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. But I'm not crazy over this team. I'm not over analyzing this team. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a tough out like they have been some years. But I also don't look at them as a team that's going to be winning a championship because of the Pacers, the Knicks, the Magic. I can go on, the Celtics, and these Indiana, and these teams are already top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland, and then you look at a team like the Sixers. Well, they got Joel Embiid. Well, we got Donovan Mitchell. We got Jason Tatum. We got, most of these teams can X out Joel Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and say, role players step up, make shots, make plays, and let's see what we can do to be able to turn the series in our favor or make shots so we win the series. Do the Sixers have enough of those guys? Well, we also need Joel Embiid to be healthy in the playoffs so we can have a chance to win. And you got to look at the Milwaukee Bucks. That's another team that you look at and say the Bucks is on the level of the Sixers, if not a little bit better. And if they're healthy, I'd rather pick them over the Sixers. So the Sixers, they put themselves in the conversation to still be respected as one of the top 6 teams in the conference, especially if they're healthy. But now they got to continue to put talent around the team each and every year to be able to secure their spot as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, while Joel Embiid continues to add more mileage to himself and more potential damage to himself. Can he stay dominant for the next 3 years, and can they actually benefit off that? They haven't been able to do it the last 5 to 6 years. Now they're getting to a point where either it's going to work or it's not. And it's unfortunate that it happens like that, but it just shows you that time is shrinking and time is going so fast that 1 minute he was the rookie that everybody wanted to see. He's wearing a mask. He's averaging 20. He calls himself the process. And now the process is chugging and chugging along, but it's not as interesting. It's not as crazy. It's not as nuanced. And now we just look at Joel Embiid as another great player that we don't really feel like the team is enough to win. And I honestly still feel that way this season. So if they got to the conference finals, I actually would be surprised because the East is just that deep, and there's a lot of teams that match up well still against the Sixers, whether it's the Celtics or not in this conference. And these teams are fast, and these teams are young, and they're hungry, so they're going to be coming at the Sixers. Other than that, comment, like, subscribe, and notification bell for more analysis. Remember, if you're new to the channel, it's videos just like this on this channel. So if you like this video, you might like the other videos on my channel, as I have over 2,000 plus videos. Plus I upload every day. And if you like breakdowns, tribute, 2K, and any type of NBA content, this is the channel for you, as I make probably the most content on YouTube for basketball. And if you love that type of content, this is a place where you can be happy. And if you still on the channel, you may have missed a video, you may have not been able to watch a video. Just check the channel for videos you may have missed, you may have not been able to watch, and that will allow you to keep up with the channel and continue to enjoy the channel. Remember, share the channel videos too. If it's a video you really like, hit the like button or share it, so that way this channel can stay popping and can stay popular, and for people to enjoy the content that you do too. And it helps the channel get bigger and stronger and makes me happier too because of that reason. And I also going to say I appreciate the fact that you guys do that already. It just really helps the channel continue to grow, and it really helps me out with a lot of other things too. And it really shows me that you guys are really liking and enjoying the channel anyway. And I think that that's what it's all about. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.